Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to on WSTX by 7 a.m. We're also streaming live on Facebook from New Orleans. So we want to say to you again a hearty welcome this evening. I hope you guys are all doing well wherever you are on this planet, connected to us. And we want to just thank you for connecting with us via Facebook and via radio. This evening, we're going to be short of at least Shanice. Shanice is unable to join us this evening, but we have here for the time being Love. Love, go ahead and say hello.
Good night, listening audience. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday evening. Coming back from last week. Last weekend we had Ag Fair and Valentine's, so I hope you guys are still feeling the love and doing well.
Alrighty. And hopefully, Anu will be joining us a little later. I know this week he celebrated his birthday. So, and I did reach out to him and said I wished him happy birthday and all the good things that come with the anniversary of birthdays. But I don't know if he's going to join us this evening. I hope he comes along so we can have some real intense discussions. By the way, for those of you who want to join us as our discussions unfold, feel free to give us a call at 773-0390 and 773-0490. Of course, the area code is 340. Here at Choices, we do our best to get into some discussions that hopefully allows for all of us to look at situations of entanglement, interaction here in the community, and to see how we can minimize risk and manage our circumstances. It has been said that, we are often victims of circumstance. I would hope, folks, I would hope for us here in the studio, as well as those who are following, joining us, listening, viewing, I hope we would strive to master circumstance as opposed to allowing ourselves to become victims of circumstance. I don't know if any of you two guys here have any take on that in terms of, can we really master circumstances, or are we just, subject to?
In certain circumstances, very much so. With some circumstances, like a sickness coming at you, you can't really, you could try to minimize it by eating better, but even some of the healthiest people get sick. So in terms of that, you can definitely minimize it. But I think in terms of like keeping a structured family, we definitely have a lot of control over things like that. And of course, not being a thief, you could choose not to steal and avoid certain circumstances and outcomes. So I would hope that we could acknowledge that much.
Interesting take. I say it's interesting because, of course, you submit to us that there are certain events that we cannot control fully, such as illness. Sickness comes, and it's not a respecter of persons.
No.
Rich gets sick, the poor gets sick.
Yep.
The beautiful get sick, the ugly get sick. The old get sick, the young get sick. And so you have to ask yourself, well, me particularly, I get into some periods of meditation, reflection, introspection, where I look at all of these things in life. I understand that this is a life of duality. We got to be realistic here. We have up and down, big and small, long and short, night and day, and we have life and death. That's the reality. How do we deal with these items? There are some persons who tell us that we have a God presence in us, if I may. Many people tell you that we are source, and so our reality is a reflection, an extension, a manifestation of how we feel internally. In other words, we're being told that if we connect to source internally. And if we have the right vibrations and frequency, if these things are in alignment, then we have the power to create our reality. There are some philosophies that tell us that if we would only see an element of God, an element of the source in the persons that we encounter on a daily basis, our lives will be much better. There will be much more harmony and peace and progress. In other words, why do we look at a brother, a sister, whether they be white or black? Why do we look at them and we only try to hop on the negative? Why don't we see beauty in everyone? Why don't we see a godly reflection in everyone that we encounter? We're too bent on negativity, and that's why the reality oftentimes presents negativity to us. So what do you all think of that?
I personally feel that the last thing they mentioned, why do we judge so heavily, especially based on race? Because pain, it's a cycle of pain that's been created because we have this thing where if you do me bad, I'm going to do not only you bad, but I'm going to give everyone else that same pain. So we start a cycle of pain, and now I cause 10 people pain. Maybe a couple of years later, I change, but I still left 10 broken souls that are going to possibly multiply, almost guaranteed they multiply that pain. It echoes and it echoes into the generations. So we have to start taking more accountability, especially the older generation. And we have to face the reality that we were once part of the problem until we can really look at ourselves and see where we were, where we are now, and utilize that information for the future generations, letting them know your flaws. Most of us later on in life, we only show our trophies, our the beauty in our life, and the hardship, but we don't really go into details that we were once that young man we didn't want our daughter dating. So that's just my look.
Mandy?
That
one is kind of deep for you. Huh? Let me just ask you guys, I came across a philosophy recently which says that the wealthiest place on the planet is not the diamond mines in Africa. It's not the gold mines in certain places. It's not the single greatest accumulation of jewelry, but the most wealthiest or richest place in the world is where? Guess. It's not the banks. Where?
The cemetery.
The grave.
The cemetery. The grave. And why do you think it is said to be the wealthiest place, the richest place? Anyone?
I know this one very well, actually.
Let me hear you.
It's because it's a land of possibilities, what ifs, people who never actually got to go after their dreams, who lived in fear. They took it all the way to the grave.
Wow, this is so profound. Listen now, I just recently, I think sometime last week, I came across that, and I'm saying, but this is true. We are so paralyzed by fear. And I think it's Nelson Mandela who says that there is nothing to fear but fear itself. And I've heard some people, I spoke to a young man last night who told me that he's only afraid of what he cannot see, but he's not afraid of the things that he can see. And so that's why some people say, I fear no man. I only fear the Creator Most High. Well, here is the thing. We're so afraid of doing things that many persons who had a dream and idea to build a business that would have provided service for many, employment, for numbers, but because that person was afraid to take the risk, afraid of failure, that person did not venture into having a business. So that person has died and taken that idea, and ideas are really energy, but he has taken that dream, that idea with him to the grave. So you have so many persons who are dead in the graves, persons who could have invented medicine to benefit mankind. They didn't try. They didn't take the step. because they were afraid of rejection, afraid of failing. Persons who could have developed in great inventions to benefit mankind, but chose to take that to the grave with them because of fear, paralyzed by fear, afraid of rejection. Do you imagine that?
Basically,
It makes perfect sense, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but call.
Let's see.
You could get back.
All right. All right, caller, you can try and call again. Somebody was trying to reach us, but I missed it. But you can try again. Yeah, let me hear you.
So the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, it's one of our greatest fears. Like, look at some people that don't want to approach a young lady, don't want to approach a guy because you fear what could, you fear that level of shame that comes with, now it changes the dynamic, and not everybody can take that. You fear opening a business because if you fail,
Go ahead. Hello, caller. Just hold a quick second. Go ahead.
you don't.
Just give us 1 quick second.
So if you have a business, you're going to be in a position where it's like, I want to try it, but then all my friends are going to say, oh, I know he couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us in our lives, we have people around us who doubt us.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes very minimal, but when you have those close people who love you, who have such a doubt, you tell them, oh, I'm going to be a big clothing guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you need to get a job. So now if you attempt it, you're going to have all those people telling you, I told you so, bro, I told you, wasted your time. So that level of shame, that's not just temporary.
Yeah.
That's something that lives with you for life, that they're going to have over your head. Remember that one time you were talking about opening that clothing? So now you're just there. So a lot of us, we just try to avoid that. So it makes sense.
We got to be focused. We got to be resilient. We got to be resolute and determined, especially in terms of pursuing our dreams. Let's hear what this caller has to say. Hello, caller. Good evening. Welcome to Choices.
Good evening.
Uh-huh.
I just heard you describe the graveyard as the richest place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it as the opposite way. I see it the poorest place in the world.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
For the same reasons that you give. There are people who didn't develop their talents and died. And if you remember in one of the Gospels, they have the story of the talents, where a owner of a vineyard was getting ready to go on a long trip, and he gave talents to his servants. One got 5, the other one got 4, the other one got 2, and the one that got 2, and then he came back. And the one who got 5 came and said, well, you gave me 5 and I invested and whatnot, and here I'm giving you back, I don't know, some number 20. Then the one who got 4 said the similar thing. The one who got 2 said, well, I know you're a hard man, and so I didn't want to lose the talents that you gave me, so I buried them. And here they are, the 2 talents that you gave me. I'm giving them back to you. And the owner got mad and was like, well, even though you got the least amount, you were supposed to develop them, invest them, and give me back more than what I gave. So I'm going to take the talents that I gave you, and I'm going to give it to the guy who I gave 5 and developed them and gave me back more. And longest when I was a kid and I was hearing this, I was like, well, that's kind of mean, And it wasn't until later on, many years with it as an adult, I finally realized that talents weren't money. They were actually talents, abilities to do things. And that God gives us all talent. And He expects us to develop them. And so at the end of our life, that we give back more than we got. But a lot of people bury their talents, like the one servant, don't develop them. And at the end of the life, the only thing they can give God back is what He gave them, undeveloped talents.
I want to ask you, I want to ask you quickly before Anu asks you a question. I want to ask you quickly. Do you realize that we're actually on the same page? Is we only differ in terms of our characterization of perhaps what is the end result. In other words, you're saying it is poor because of all the wasted or unused, untapped talent that lies there. But the philosophy, and that's not my philosophy, by the way. I came across that I was on the internet scrolling, doing different things. I came across that presentation by someone, and I found it really eye-opening. Like I said, it was just last week I came across that, and I am thankful that I came across it because it has built more resolve in me in terms of just the pursuit of my goals in this life. I don't want to have regrets when I'm about to make my exit. Anu, go ahead.
And what the Bible is showing is the reason why people don't develop their talents is that they're looking at what everybody else has.
Right.
That's what that servant was doing.
Right.
He was looking at what the other servants got, rather than looking at taking whatever it is that he got from the owner and developing how small it might be, he may think it was, and developing them. That's and right. That's what God is telling us. Basically, the parable, like Jesus talked in parables, So, and the thing is that we're supposed to, whatever God gave us, whatever talents God gave us, abilities God gave us, we're supposed to take them, nurture them, and develop them.
Right.
And not be looking at what anybody else has. But you don't have that. You have what he gave you.
Right.
And you're supposed to develop those things.
Yeah.
And most people go to the grave not developing what God gave them.
Very sad.
They spend their time looking at what he gave other people and, why I didn't have that. Oh, I could do so and so if I had that, rather than looking at what was given. And so that's why I say the graveyard is the poorest place it shouldn't be. And it could end up being the richest place, but what happens now, is that it ends up being the poorest place. And the richest place is the living, the land of the living.
All right.
Because those are talents that could be developed.
Right. Okay, let me hear what Anu has.
So, still there.
So you basically answered your own question. You said, and I quote, it is the poorest place, but it could have been the richest. That literally is it exactly. So you're talking substance based, like what's actually there, which they did. They never actually tried to go after those dreams. We're talking on possibility. So the possibility that we just agreed upon was it could have been.
But the possibilities only exist in the land of the living.
Yeah. We're talking what
it, the possibilities are no longer there.
It's a what if situation. But it's a what if situation. So we kind of look at for future generations to kind of guide them and give them that information to look at all of these people who didn't chase their dreams. Billy wants to be a firefighter, but everyone's telling him he can't. So we get to utilize these situations and tell them that, look, you can choose to take your dream. Maybe Billy needs to be a little bit older for this talk, but take your dream to the grave. Or you could try, and even if you fail, there was a quote I love to hear, and it actually pushed me to actually try to open a business and actually push myself. And I never wanted to actually try in life, really, because of the fear of failure. And there was a quote, it went something like, I tried is 10 times more of a man as someone who said, what if? Because the what if never went to the arena. So when I heard that quote, I realized something. Failure is, you shouldn't be afraid to fail. You should be afraid not to try. So when we're talking about...
If you're paying attention, there is stuff, valuable stuff in failure. There's stuff that you could take from that and carry on and eventually get success. You know the lubricant WD-40? It stands for water displacement 40. 40 because it was the 40th formula that worked, which means he failed 39 times before.
But
he learned something new that ultimately led him
we're in agreement
to the success.
Yeah, but hear what the brother was saying. It's those who fail to try, to make an attempt. It's not the failure.
Right.
Failure is stepping stones to perhaps greater things. It's failure constitute integral parts of the journey. Like
Right.
babies,
It's only
children.
failure if you don't learn anything from it.
Exactly.
If you don't look at it, you have the courage to look and see what went wrong, what went right, and that's the part that most people are missing. They don't have the courage to look at their failures, because when they look at their failures, they get all depressed because they're not really taking what's the word I'm searching for? But they're not doing it in the right way. They're not looking for the things that they could extract from it.
So,
as I said, you look at the things that went wrong and you realize, okay, don't do that again, because we know where that's going to lead.
So,
and then you look at the things that went right and try to repeat those things. And if you keep failing, and that's the thing I think, when we hear about scientists and we hear about inventors, we get with the way the story is told, is as if they just went in, did this and this, and it worked, and they became a success. But that is when you hear the real story, that almost never happens.
Right.
They fail and they fail and they fail and they fail, but they learn from each failure and eventually get success.
The story of trial and error.
So what we're supposed to do for those people is simply pray for them, give them a hand if needed, and hope that they get better with time. We don't want to keep telling them you fail, you try. Just pray for them. Sometimes people don't want to hear that same speech over and over. So you actually do exactly what you said at the beginning. Look toward God. You pray for them. God is not in a lot of people's lives, so we can't condemn them. We have to understand them, speak kindly, and give them a hand if we're able. Simple.
And that is the reason why, and let me just put this in here, Mr. CC. That's the reason why you have some educational systems where they do not use the notion of pass and fail at a certain stage in the child's development, because they don't want to give the child the impression that, you know, you're doing something that's unacceptable.
What they need to do is give the reality. Successful people have failed many times.
Okay, and I can buy that.
I don't know a successful person who has not failed. So trying to avoid failure or becoming depressed about it is you don't know the reality of things.
You're right.
The reality of things is every successful person. In fact, there was a thing, physics department. When the professors were retiring, they gave a last lecture, and students listened to one of them, and the professor was talking about all the experiments that blew up on him and all the things that went wrong. And at the end, the student asked me, well, how did he ever become a professor? And I had to explain to him, yeah, that's what happened. But you learn from each explosion, you learn from each failure, and you then eventually get success. And that's the thing, people don't realize this. So as soon as they try something and it fails, they give up. Because they think it says they're not good at it. But I think if you talk to, the stories you hear in the movies and stuff like that, they don't talk about this. But if you talk to the people who have had success and ask them about it, they will tell you about all the failures that they've had and that they learned from them. And that's what ultimately made them successful.
All right.
That's what we need to get out, the true story of how things are done and how people ultimately get success. Because the story that's out there on TV and in the movies and so on is not real.
Absolutely. I really appreciate what you shared with us this evening. I hope those who are listening and viewing can, get the gist of what you're saying, analyze the discourse that we're having, and that they can learn from it. And for those who are parents, elders, and you don't have your children with you, pass the message on to them so that they can they can get to it. I want to thank you for joining us this evening and sharing with us. Any closing remarks?
No problem. No, that's about it. And so we basically agree, but I guess it's how we would describe the graveyard. But we have the same thoughts about it.
Absolutely.
And we really need to get people to try to, in our community, to try to find out what their talents are. And you do that as a child, trying different things. You do a variety of things, and you just find out what it is that you are good at, what talents God gave you, and you develop them. And if you do this, everybody wins. If you find out that you're a really good baker, we all get really good bread. If you find out that you're a really good electrician, we all get good wiring for our house and for other things. Everybody would, and so we should also be trying to help out people as much as possible to discover what their talents are, because we all gain if they discover it.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you very much, my brother.
No problem.
Stay strong. Bye. All right, you're going to say something, Anu, before I share what was shared with me?
I'm just glad we got, to the same point.
All right. Okay. Well, let me just say that this was just shared with me. Instead of asking, why did I fail? Ask, what is this teaching me? What appears to be a failure?
Yeah.
What can we learn from that experience? And then it goes on to say, every failure contains data. Treat it like feedback, not a verdict on your ability. It says separate identity from outcome. Don't say, I failed, so I'm not good enough. Instead, say, this attempt didn't work. I can adjust. It's like having a growth mindset, And then it goes on to speak about analyzing your emotions. Analyze without emotion. Break it down objectively. What was under your control, what wasn't, where specifically did things break down, what skill was missing. Failure becomes manageable when it becomes specific. Improve one variable at a time, whether it is strategy, timing, preparation, communication, skill level. Then it goes on to say, build resilience intentionally. Resilience isn't natural talent. It's trained response. You build it by trying again quickly, accepting discomfort, avoiding catastrophizing. That's a new one to me. I was about saying catastrophic, but it's catastrophizing. Keep the long-term perspective. The faster you recover, the faster you grow. In a sense, we're saying that, those things we refer to as failure, let's redefine that and see how we can benefit from that.
Well, my take is every failure makes it easier for the next one.
Yeah.
Kind of like you have some of the best athletes. All of them have failed multiple times. That's what practice is for. You're practicing to get better. You're going to fail. And each time, when you really put your mind to it, you become better. That's every single last one of us on earth. And I'm not trying to tie this to relationships, but I just think about it, look at me as a young man. I used to fear rejection, used to fear approaching a young lady. So because of that fear, I never would actually try. But I noticed after the first, you go in your corner, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, you're running in, and then eventually someone says yes, and you're like, oh, I get it. I'm getting it now. So now you develop what they call game, So it's like it's anything in life, and it's beautiful. So I love failure. Failure for me is a breath of fresh air. I always said that every time a young lady rejects me, it just opens the door for me to move on to somebody else who doesn't have to pretend to love me.
Now, hear what you said. It opens the door for you to move on to somebody else.
Or something else.
But here's one. There was this guy who told me that he had been pursuing this young female, and it was always no. But one time, the young lady said to him, The answer is still no, but keep trying. And that gave him hope because she said, but keep trying.
Mhm.
She didn't dissuade him and tell him like it's still no and it will always be no.
Mhm.
She said it is still no, but keep trying. So he kept on trying,
Yeah.
and eventually he succeeded.
Congratulations.
You know, yeah. There's a song that says, "You succeed at last, but you must try,
I'm glad you
try and try.
Yeah.
You succeed at last." Something to that effect.
Yeah.
And then of course, Peter Tosh tells us what? Huh?
The harder they come, the harder
No.
they
Pick yourself up, dust yourself off,
Try
try
again.
start all over again. So yeah, man. Those of you who are listening, viewing with us, if there is one important thing I hope you grasp from that is that we should be courageous, we should be bold, we should be determined, we should be resilient, we should be resolute in terms of pursuing our goals in this life.
Yeah, certain goals you pursue, but other goals will put you in jail. So just keep that in mind.
Like, for example, now that's interesting. And as you mentioned that, I want us to touch upon this because you see, other goals
Will put you in
will
jail.
put you in jail. And that is so important because a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about the 11 persons who were arrested locally
Yeah.
because of a SNAP benefit, fraudulent activity, what have you. And I maintained at the time that these are people who are going through some difficulties in this community of ours and with this economy that we're faced with. And for example, I understand that the thresholds established for SNAP benefits, you might be just about $5 above the threshold. You're denied benefits. The system in its establishment doesn't take into consideration some nuances, certain things that puts you out of reach of the goal without analyzing the situation to see that you're actually just about drowning, you know. And so you have persons who find themselves in those situations, and because of that, they try to bend the rules a little, either to accommodate someone who's about falling through the cracks and see that, hey, let me give that person a helping hand. Or those who bend the rules to gain the right step, the right measure to, get what is being sought. And so we spoke about it. And I think sometimes we need to be a little, how should I put it, a little more understanding and compassionate when we view persons who get caught up in certain circumstances. My father used to tell us, he who steals my purse steals trash, but he who destroys or steals my good name has stolen my wealth. Because to my father, having a good name was better than having physical wealth, money, etc.
I agree.
That was his position. But so having said that, I don't know if you guys read that a former senator of the Virgin Islands has been sentenced to serve 25 years in prison in the state of Florida. And when the sentence was handed down to Calvert White, approximately 5 years in jail, I did say on this very program that I thought that it was a pretty harsh sentence, 5 years in prison. And I thought that perhaps the judge could have given him a lighter sentence. But I don't know how much you know about this situation with a former senator from the Virgin Islands, what he did and the 25 years. And 25 years is a lot,
Involved sexual assault of a minor.
Okay, sexual assault of a minor. If my recollection serves me right, what I read about the case was that I don't think there was actual penetration involved in that case. I think it was a situation where he perhaps had the youngster take a shower with him or shower nude with him, something like that, I don't recall if it was actual penetration. And so it comes back to the matter of choices, the choices we make. That was purely bad decision, bad choice. To even have this young lady come in the shower with you whilst you're naked, even if there was no penetration involved. So,
This time, we don't know. That's the whole part. The whole thing is we do not know. So
uh-huh.
innocent until proven guilty, was found guilty. Maybe
Mhm.
not to that extent. I don't know. But like I said, we shouldn't assume that there was none,
Mhm.
or that this was possibly the first time,
Mhm.
because it's just the first time people get caught. All of us have little things that we probably hid and we got caught, and that person probably thought, "Oh, that was their first time."
Mhm.
Wrong.
So then let me ask you something else, because I understand also based on what I read, there was testimony
Yeah.
from other persons who claimed that the individual had either attempted or done similar things to them.
See, evidence.
And that was and as as much as some of us may want to say, why bring in the testimony of somebody who's not actually involved in the ongoing matter? But I think as a point of reference, maybe,
To your character
yeah, judges allow that.
on both sides.
Yeah. So, wow. Mandy, you're the female here. What have you got to say? You got two males, speaking about that. And by the way, the guys, it's a man, like the two of
Yeah,
us.
we
Old
understand.
man.
Huh?
I want to know, like, when the incident first occurred, she didn't, for me, I'm like a rattlesnake.
Uh-huh.
I might give you ample warning the first time, and in that warning, you better know not to mess with me again.
Hmm.
Because if you come back a second time, it's gonna be deadly.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I want to know, like, she didn't report it, she didn't tell you, like, hello, sir, you right now, you're in violation of my personal privacy. I ain't going to bend to do none of that stuff, even if I am getting a little favor from you.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna do that.
Can I comment?
Yes, go ahead.
You won't do that, and that's beautiful. But we don't know the home life. We don't know what they have going on in their personal life. And then you have to remember this person is in a position of power.
Hmm.
They can make your life easier or help you in different ways.
Mhm.
So naturally, it's a little bit more of a difficult situation for somebody who's at risk. And normally, people in those positions are gonna know who to target.
Hmm.
So they might not target you, but there's a lot of honorable young ladies, especially minors out there.
Let me share something with you guys. First off, most of the guys who get into that, they're like pastors, teachers, police officers, men, and maybe some will say women too. I'm dealing with the men factor. Men of reputation in the community. People look up to them. They're like power figures. And so, to begin with, there is an atmosphere of not necessarily intimidation, but a kind of reverence of this person, if I may. And so, that situation presents one where somebody feels sort of like powerless in the presence of this other person, and this person goes on to exercise indiscretion. Now, let's be realistic about it. I'm putting myself in the place of a young woman who's living in the home of a male individual, even if that male has other family members in the home. Even in the case of fathers and daughters, stepfathers and stepdaughters, when a guy has abused a young woman in a situation like that, I assume that she's got to be confused. She's got to be mixed up. She's wondering, how do I deal with that? How do I tell my mom that my father has done this or my stepfather has done that? So hold on. So she holds on to that. She doesn't feel good about it, but she's mixed up. She doesn't know the proper way to deal with it. So it happens once. She said nothing. It happens a second time, and she still says nothing. The third time that it happens, she's now saying, wow, mommy is going to tell me, why didn't I say something? What? She's mixed up, man. We got to understand how people end up being victimized. And that's why we have to empower our young people, males and females alike. Empower them in terms of how they deal with such matters, how they put the brakes in the very first instance. Don't try it. Don't threaten. Don't make me believe that you're going to do this, do that. No. We got to empower our young people in this community so that they know how to navigate those matters. Because I'm telling you, I believe just sitting here and letting my imagination run wild, I'm certain these young women have some challenges, some difficulties in presenting this to somebody for help.
I would love to give a take on that. I understand where you're coming from, but I would prefer for harsher penalties to people who abuse the minors. Why? The frontal cortex, I'm trying to remember the proper term for it.
Frontal lobe cortex.
Doesn't finish mature until like 25, I believe.
Uh-huh.
So you're now dealing with a situation where somebody who knows they're able to manipulate the situation, they know better. And from somebody who is still learning and being programmed. So I like to take the blame off of them as much as possible. I'm not saying there aren't those who maybe have a good idea of what they're doing, but you should never put as much blame on the victim as you do the person. No, I know you're not doing that. I know you're not doing that. I'm just making it clear for the people listening. We want to focus on creating safer environments for them because, like you said, we don't know the state of the house they're growing up in. So they're already at odds right from there, and they're being programmed. A lot of young children who may be hypersexual, maybe it was in a household where they saw a different man or woman coming through every night. So now they're again being programmed. So how are we going to hold our child accountable for being a product of their environment? No, we have to hold the adults more accountable for creating those environments. So harsher penalties should be put on the people who violate the minors.
Okay, well said. Let me hear what this caller has. Caller, you left, caller. You can call back. We would gladly welcome your comments this evening, so you can call us back.
But what about those who spoke up and for some reason the mom, she didn't take the measures she needed to take to deal with that type of situation?
Prosecute.
You understand what I'm saying? Because I've heard some cases and I'm like, bruh, like how your mom choose this monster over you?
The mother did not choose a monster over the daughter. I want you guys to hear this. You know, the mother, women, listen, when women decide to go with men, they see certain elements that are desirable in those men. Let's see, hello, I'm going to get back to that. Hello, caller, good evening, welcome.
Good evening. Which case are you talking about? Is it the, I didn't catch you from the beginning.
The former senator who was just sentenced to 25 years in prison.
That's what I thought. So, interesting enough, there was a story today in the consortium about a 17-year-old on St. Croix who was, what's the word? Well, I guess that's a tough to shit out. They were kissed by a 3-year-old man who used to babysit.
Hold on. Run this by me one more time. How old is the man?
43. She was 17. She's 18 now. This happened, I guess, in the past year. They went for a walk on the beach. And in fact, her father, she was with her father, and the father told her, well, I hope you enjoy yourselves, not knowing what was going to happen. He trusted the guy because the guy babysat, and I guess there was no problems or whatever. So while they're on the beach walking, the man told her that he had developed feelings for her. And of course, she was shocked and didn't know what to do. She's 17, hasn't been in situations like this before. And this is somebody who she respected and trusted.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up kissing her. And I'm not sure exactly if anything, they didn't have sex on, but they, so then days later, she went back to his house. And, people will be like, well, why did she go back? It must be that she was interested. But she said she wasn't. She was hoping for an apology. This was the guy, again, that she respected, grew up with, as a adult that took care of her. So she was hoping that this was just, a one-off kind of a thing. But it wasn't. He tried to make a move on her again. She left, and then eventually she told a friend about it, and the friend encouraged her to report it.
Mm-hmm.
So this will happen. Again, you got to think about teenagers. We know teenagers don't really know how to handle many situations.
Mm-hmm.
And we know also teenagers make bad decisions routinely.
Mm-hmm.
So it's why, when it comes to sex, that we expect them to not be a teenager.
And
that's why there are the statutory laws on rape laws, because adults have realized teenagers are not really in their best mind frame to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
They routinely make poor decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to put in some safeguards in there to protect them from adults who are willing to take advantage of their mental state.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and what you're searching for is the prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
Right, that's the front portion of our brain.
Mm-hmm.
Ours are much bigger than animals, and it helps us make decisions, all kind of logic, and right from wrong, and so on. And as one of your opposed was saying, that it's not fully developed as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
It is until about 25 that it gets fully developed.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the difference. I've known people who said when they were 17, and it isn't until about around 20 they start becoming reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
They start things that they couldn't understand before. Explaining stuff to them, they have no clue what I'm saying. They disagree with me, whatever. By the time when they get to about 20 and stuff, they start coming out of it, and they start understanding stuff about life. And that's because their prefrontal cortex is finally getting into the last stages of development. And so they become a whole lot more reasonable. They understand things they didn't understand at 17. They totally understand now.
Mm-hmm. But hear me on this here.
Right?
Hear me on this here. Given all what you have shared with us about the lack of adequate development in terms of the thought processes, why don't we have more in our societies, in our communities, to empower those young people in terms of giving them proper guidance, showing them how to avoid the pitfalls in such areas? How do we empower them in terms of showing them how to establish boundaries?
Okay, that's the thing. I don't know if you could empower them, because again, their brain hasn't developed it yet. So what I tell, and I found that with my own children, when they were 10, I could explain things to them, and they understood, and they were like, oh yeah, whatever. And then we'd have discussions, and I saw that they understood. When they became 13, 14, I would have to explain things 2, 3, 4, 5 times before they finally take it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going through major changes during that time period. You could try, and you should try, but some things you're not going to really ever get through to them until they get to about 20. Then they don't understand. Then they'll be telling you what you were telling them during your teenage years, as if it's some new discovery.
All right. So then that's so what you're saying. What you're saying here to us. What you're saying here is justification for the stiff penalty of 25 years so that the men them can know to check themselves.
We have to, the thing, so I basically, chairman of my department had told me this when I was younger and stuff, and he was saying, I was saying you had from 0 to 18 to raise your child. And he was like, no, you really have from 0 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you want to put in them, whatever you want them to do, you put it in there. Because then they hit puberty, and then at puberty, you pretty much, when it's from 10 to 18, you are just putting in barriers so that they don't hurt themselves. You're trying to put things in place so that they don't get an opportunity to hurt themselves too badly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that when they come out of it by around 20, they haven't done a whole bunch of negative things that are now putting them in a bad place in life.
Mm-hmm.
So as a parent and as an adult, what you really have during the teenage years, what they need is barriers
Mm-hmm.
that you put in place, and you expect they're going to push against them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get mad. Don't get all things. That's part of their development. If they don't push against the barriers, we don't get new things. We won't have new computers. We won't have cell phones. It's part of growing up. It's part of the development that during those teenage years, they're going to push it. But once they get out of them, they go back to what you have taught them from 0 to 10.
Mm-hmm. All righty.
But I describe it as like baking a cake. You're baking a cake, you put in the ingredients at the beginning. You gotta do that before you put the cake in the oven. You can't put the cake in the oven for 20 minutes and then realize, oh, I forgot to put in an egg.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put it in there. This is not going to end well. You put the ingredients in before you put it in the oven. Then you heat it up and it develops those things. That's the same thing with the child. 0 to 10, you put in the ingredients. What you want to them to have when it comes out the oven, you put it in then.
Mm-hmm.
Then you experiences the heat, and that's for the teenager. That's the pressures of life and whatnot. They develop, and when they come out, you have your cake, and that's when they're 18, 20. But and then what you put in, that's what you're gonna get out.
All righty.
There'll be turmoil, there'll be pressure, there'll be high temperatures that helps them develop.
Mm-hmm. Well,
if you put in 2 eggs, you get a cake coming out with 2 eggs.
all right. Well said. I remain. I'm sort of like committed in the direction of seeing how best I can put things in place to really provide safety nets for these young people. But I think one thing you brought home to me, and that is the justification as to why a 25-year sentence is a reasonable one. Send the message out.
Right.
Yep.
That would be the barriers, part of the barriers that are put in place to protect the teenagers.
Okay, appreciate it.
And they need that, as we all know. There are teenagers that are just left to run free. It really ends well for them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's not to get through my years with my children when they went through. I didn't get upset with them, and so sometimes I got mad, but it was more for their benefit too. I wasn't really mad, but I needed to show that to them to get a result.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, this is what they do. This is it's a stage they need to go through, and we all benefit from it when they go through it. We just have to stop them from hurting themselves during that stage.
Absolutely. Well, again, I want to thank you for joining us and sharing with us. All right. Bye. Listen, when I spoke earlier on, this was just shared with me. That let's see how this goes here now. Pedicel, sexual abuse can cause shame, fear, guilt, confusion, anxiety, or depression. and this is what experts who have dealt with victims can share this with us,
Yeah, I think it causes all of
You
the
know.
above.
you know. But I just imagine that I know that there's got to be confusion, and it's not an easy thing to deal with, even though, I mean, one of the things I've come to learn about life, that we ought to be very observant. And when I say be observant, I took a course in college, a writing course, and I was asked to describe a matchstick. And I was confused. How do I, what's in a matchstick for me to describe? I didn't see anything in a matchstick I could talk about. But of course, the professor went on to explain to me what I needed to do. And he spoke about some of us not being observant, not taking note, paying attention to detail as we move in life. And then he spoke about how we must use the senses. Taste the matchstick, the wooden part, the part with the sulfur. Describe the difference. Drop the matchstick on the table and see what sound it makes. Drop it on some other surface and describe all of that. Then after you've done that, see what you can use the stick part to do. And then after you've done that, you actually light the match and see how useful the match can be once you've lit it, etc. And so when he shared that with me, I saw so much that I could have said about a matchstick. But the initial assignment seemed so difficult to me. What can I say about a matchstick? Until he showed me how I can make use of the senses that have been given to me to bring about that description. So I'm saying that, we've got to be observant. We've got to pay attention to people, even when somebody comes speaking to you sometimes, by being observant, you can tell if this person is actually going through a difficult time or not. And so we have to learn to be observant in life. And pay attention to details as we go through this life, not just with the people that we encounter, pay attention to details in nature, taking the beauties of nature, see what's ugly about nature. I just told my grandson is bent on going to the NBA. He's all about going to the NBA. He's determined. He's going to become an NBA player. And we're trying to tell him all the other things that must be in place. It's not just having the physicality and all of that, but the raw talent, But it's important that you pay attention in school, that you study. Today, with the NBA, they're not even recruiting guys straight out of high school. They're looking at the guys in college, playing on the college level basketball, etc. So we're trying to impress upon him that all of these things must be in place, But we have to be observant. We've got to pay attention to what's going on. That's how we're going to become effective teachers, And all of us should be teachers. They say each one teach one. All right. Let me hear you anyway. I saw you getting ready to say something before we move on to the next.
I just like the whole conversation, and like the last part you just mentioned, the village concept. It's something that has died out in the community, and as we see the village continue to die, we start to see the new products that are coming out of the village.
Wow.
And we start to understand where the problem really is.
Mm-hmm.
Can't keep blaming everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
A strong community can combat anything that comes our way, and you stand firmly together. But when you're so divided, these challenges that come at us, they now become grand and almost unbeatable.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I want to point out, I don't want people thinking that I am heartless when I say that the brother who spoke and you, of course, demonstrated to me why such a sentence of 25 years is relevant. And because of all what has been said here in terms of the mindset of the victims at such an early age, we've got to apply restriction in the best areas and in the best, most effective way possible. So that it's better to look at the guys who take advantage of persons and victimize them and place a heavy penalty there to send a message to others. Don't do it, because if you do it, the cost is going to be severe.
I agree. And one more thing I wanted to add on, and I'm gonna bring two parts here, make it quick. The one where you said Commissioner White with the 5 years, you felt was too harsh. My issue with a lot of the arguments people have is they both have an opinion, an argument, but now because we disagree, we start fighting each other down. You have a right to feel that way. You broke down why you feel that way. But the next person who feels like, oh, it was justified, we don't know their experience with that person or situations that surround that person may have affected them and their family, which would justify them feeling the way they do. But again, my main issue with a lot of people is they want to give grace to this individual because that's their friend or their family, but then condemn everybody else. That's an issue that we have to work on. And if we're truly going to stand our ground and say we're fair across the board, be fair across the entire board.
How do we sensitize our people to examine facts as they come and to be honest in terms of our deliberations and the conclusions that we draw in this community? I ask that question because, especially when I look at the political arena, it seems like, we're just given to supporting certain people. We have a soft spot for them, not examining what they bring to the table, what they've got to offer. But we just, maybe because of elements such as popularity and family connection, matters to me that are very superficial. That's what a lot of us in this community tend to look at when we're vetting persons that we would hopefully elect to serve in public office. And so you have some people who come into public office and they just don't have the requisite skill set to serve. I'm sorry, I got to put it like that. How do you guys feel about that?
I agree with you, but we all know in the VA it's all about who you know and what you know. So a lot of people like to build strong relationships to where it's going to benefit me at some point. We all kind of do it to some degree. I just prefer to make sure the relationships I build are with honest, genuine people. You have a call?
I think so. Let me see. Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello. Good evening. Welcome. Yeah.
I think 5 years was too small for the very reason you talk about the sex offenders, that you have to show people that you're serious about this, that this cannot be continued, that it shouldn't have happened, and if it happens again, this is what you're going to face. 5 years doesn't seem like much, I think a lot of people will be like, okay, I'll take the chance for the money. And so I think that's, going to be problematic in that fashion. But what I really thought about is, you talk about the NBA and that they stopped taking people straight from high school. I think I might know why. When Moses Malone and Dawkins, when they died within a couple of years of each other, I believe. I started to wonder, wait a minute, both of these guys went straight from high school to the NBA. So I looked up all the people who did this, and there was about maybe 7. And the one who was the oldest guy was like 76 or 78. All the others were like in the late 50s, 60s, like Moses Malone. And I think there were about 3 who were still in the NBA, but they were still young. That included, what's his name, who died in the helicopter accident.
Kobe.
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant. He was one of them. He was, in fact, I think, one of the last to do this. And of course, now we won't know how old he would have been. Kevin Garnett is another one, I believe. He's 49 now, so he still has years. But I was keeping my eye on them to see what was going to happen with them. And I think there is a thing. A lot of these guys are big guys, and and muscular guys like Dawkins and Malone, I believe is the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm saying running up and down the court with all that weight from high school. You know, I think that probably is a lot of wear and tear on their hearts and so forth.
Well,
So that's why I was.
let me share this with you. If my memory serves me correct, the last person who might have gone straight out of high school to the NBA was perhaps LeBron James, and he's about LeBron went straight out of high school to the NBA,
Right.
and I think he's
you
about
need to watch out.
he's about 40, 41 right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's a big guy.
And he's still and still performing superbly.
Yeah. It's not when they're in their 40s.
Mm-hmm.
They make it to their 50s and 60s. And I said only one made it to their 70s. And it was this white guy, he was a superstar or anything. So I'm not sure how much play he got.
Mm-hmm.
But he was the only one out of all of them that made it so far, that made it to their into his 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I said the others were like 60 something, 50 something, and so it's left to be seen. Kobe, I was really interested because he's not a big guy, so he was kind of outside the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was keeping my eye on him to see what would happen to him. If it has to be high school and being big, which LeBron is. So he needs to pay attention and check his heart and all the other stuff because there's something going on, and I think the NBA recognized it and got ahead of the curve. Because it's something, if they kept it going and somebody retracted and saw this, they would get a lot of the blame. So I think they got ahead of the thing and stopped it. Because otherwise, why would you stop it? Because they've had success. These guys have had very successful careers in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so in terms of basketball and stuff, it's been working.
Okay.
And so for the NBA to stop doing it, it means that there must be some other reason they see. And I believe this is it.
Very interesting take. Thanks. All right. Bye.
No problem.
Okay. I want us to get to our hot button item. We had promised to come back to visit what we did last week. I have some other things I want to share, but let me try and get to this here. And what I did was that we're looking at a sort of like a modified version of what we discussed the last time. I hope you guys got what I shared with you about it. So anyway, let me just go through this very quickly. When Dalton found out that his girlfriend Matilda and best friend Jivan was secretly meeting up, he was devastated. Dalton called off his relationship with Matilda, but ironically kept his friendship with Jivan, who expressed a heartfelt regret over the matter and blamed Matilda, whom he claimed was persistently hitting on him while he was giving her driving lessons. It is now 7 years since the unfortunate turn of events, and now Jivan and Matilda are getting married. Dalton has been invited to the wedding reception, but not the ceremony. He is faced with a difficult situation. While he holds no grudges, some hurt feelings of the past seem to have been reignited. He is having a hard time deciding whether to attend the reception and bring along a gift or to simply decline to attend. 1. What advice would you share with Dalton as far as making a choice of action or decision in this matter? Let's take them one at a time. So let's go with this first. What advice would you share with Dalton as far as deciding what he should do?
He definitely shouldn't go. I guess that's a really, really, very simple take. Clearly, based on his feelings,
Uh-huh.
he had true feelings for this young lady, and his so-called best friend
Mhm.
is now marrying her, which is going to tell me that I was right. I
Uh-huh.
did have something 7 years ago. So right then and there, the proof is in the pudding. Sometimes, time reveals all.
Uh-huh.
So he should already put one-on-one together, unless he's a little bit challenged and, not able to reject that invitation. But my advice, Dalton, you deserve better. End the friendship with both of them,
Mhm.
like I always do.
All right. Manly, what's your position?
Well, I feel the same sentiments as Anu, but if he wants to be like Cardi, well, how she say? I'm petty and I'm pretty and I'm petty. Yes.
Wow, I like
if
this
he
one.
wants to be Mr. Petty, I would definitely attend the wedding. But I will make sure I have one knockout of a new woman in my life to attend that wedding.
All righty. Anybody else wants to share something here? I see you there on the side in the corner, like you want to say something. Anyway, second thing, what are your sentiments, if any, about the cheating couple now getting married and inviting the previously jilted partner to the wedding?
There's some cold-hearted people. Wow. Hey, if you got friends like that, those should be his enemies. that is like, I don't know what this man did to that woman or that guy, but they want to break him. They want to break his manhood, the last being of his soul. If he have anything left. So clearly, they were never his friends. They were his enemies. Or better yet, there are people who needed prayer and didn't need to be around him. And yeah, they're just beyond evil.
Oh, you look at a guy like Javan was simply giving driving lessons. The woman, Matilda, is who pressed him.
So he gonna be man enough to shut out that.
Speak it so you could be heard.
Duran gonna be man enough to just say, you know what? That's my friend Dalton woman, and I gonna cut Matilda out and say, Matilda, yo, you getting a little bit too deep up into your behavior right now. Let me keep things on a civilized, mature level and not go this route. It's gonna look bad for all parties.
Let me ask you something. You ever see a woman walk down the streets in a short mini skirts or pum shorts, short pants? What the men them do? Don't look at her.
Yeah.
So hold on. Me, I am in Javan's place. I giving Matilda driving lessons. And she coming into the class with a piece of short pants showing all her legs and so on. I mustn't look.
No. If Matilda is anything not of your class, you're gonna look. If Matilda is frumpy and then these shorts, are you going to pay Matilda any mind?
Clearly, if she's my best friend's woman, she's got to have some value. I don't expect my best friend to have.
Not all the time. Sometimes your best friend might like what the type of Matilda he like is not your type of Matilda. So
no, I'm not saying I would have done that to Dalton if I was in Javan's place, but I'm telling you guys, if the woman is hot and I'm giving her driving lessons, and she comes wearing something, I might have said to her, don't you think you should dress a little more appropriately? And then she comes back next time with something even revealing more. And she continues, and she presses me, and she presses me.
You're gonna take the press.
And I end up falling, man. Listen, man, to err is human.
Can I get my answer?
Go ahead.
So, like, put me in that exact same situation.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness, I would get proof. Like, I mean, I guess it could be open. I'm the type of person. I'm gonna tell my friend.
Mm-hmm. Or you'll tell your friend.
Oh yeah.
That his woman made a
yeah, because there's plenty of women. So I'm a guy that's very far from desperate. So if I want intimacy is always there. Just But I guess for the people who might not saying you, I'm saying you, but for the people who might have a stronger little struggle, when those opportunities, like you said, she hot. So that person might have not been getting a lot of hot young ladies. So it's like, I can't miss this opportunity, even if it's my boys. I don't have that problem. So for me, I'm going to naturally tell my boy, loyalty is more important. That friend, if I need $500, Like, give it to me. But that's the thing, those are my type of friends I keep close but that young lady, she's losing me money. Potential, she's losing me a good friend. She's evil.
The friend.
Now, there are situations in which the friend will say, you know what? Okay, if she press you again, go through it and let me know. There are those type of friends. So if the friend says that and you're that type of person, the next time you press, you're like, yeah. But other than that, your loyalty should come first. A man is only as good as his word. And when you have a friendship, your loyalty is to him. If you break that loyalty for a woman, a man for some people, or anybody, like that's a serious kind of like it's showing me who you really are, your character as a human being. And so we should all be better than that.
I appreciate that, And when you say a man is as good as his word, I also appreciate that. But haven't you heard that women say if men aren't attracted, women aren't attracted to their man, he ain't good enough. They want to have a man that all kind of woman,
That's also a problem.
So I'm saying to you, the same way how a woman wants to have a man that other women, would be attracted to, is the same way how a man wants to have a woman that other guys would be looking at.
Big difference, though. Big difference. I firmly stand that women should go after the man who wants them, because after they have a child, I have no children, so not that I look down on women with children, but I'll always prefer a woman without a child.
Okay.
Naturally, the body changes. It's not as appealing as it once was. You just gave birth to a child. Beautiful. I admire it. I acknowledge it. But your sexual value now in the dating pool of men go down. Women don't want to accept that reality the way we accept the reality that they want a provider and protector, but they lose options. So she's supposed to go for the man who wants her, which is the safer option, because as your body starts to go through those experiences, the man that loves you, he's going to still love your body and embrace you. The other men you want, they normally leave you. And that's why, of course, in the current situation, most women are single moms and they're struggling, and they choose men who they love more because they have the power of who gains access to their body, and they don't take the responsibility of that power they have. They always want to throw blame. So that's my clear breakdown. And everybody who wants to oppose it, I'm all ears.
I beg to differ, because I'm a single mom, and I want to know, like, where did my body depreciate after having a kid? Like, what happened?
Because it's a kid that I must feed and take care of. That's somebody else's seed. And many of you accidents prefer to take care of their own blood, not yours. In certain circumstances, normally after you have the child, you choose the man who takes your child the most, because now you're looking for a leader and a male figure who's going to lead your child.
I've seen men pick up women with 6 or more kids, and I'm like, okay, so she lucky, because look, I'm here, single mom, and what's my problem?
These are the good guys.
Yeah, but we don't know what's really going on in that house, and she's lucky. But was that the man she would have chosen? Is he anything like her child's father? In most occasions, no. That's why I said women choose poorly in the beginning, but then after they have now a child to protect, they now look for the best fit for their child, not only themselves, because women say, oh, I don't need him to raise my child. But let him wake up every morning and not tell your child anything.
And let me tell you, I have a kid, but I don't want, if I have to choose right now, I don't want a guy that has a kid.
That's fine. You have that. It's fine, but considering you have one, that's a little bit kind of like, then you have to understand why some men don't want a woman with a child.
Interesting. See? Very interesting. Have you all seen the good-looking young women nowadays on the internet, on Facebook in particular, showing off the older guys that they're now married to? Some of the guys are white.
Yes.
They have money. But these are good. These are good-looking girls. They're young, married to older guys.
And I agree with them for doing that. I'm sorry to say.
And these are black girls,
If I had the choice to do it all over again.
These are black sisters.
I know, and I gave them kudos to doing that. I'm happy that they went that route. If I had the chance to do it all over again,
I got a problem with that.
I would definitely choose that route.
I got a problem with that. But anyway, especially since it is black sisters.
That is a place, I'm not trying to do it, but that's normally said from a place of past experience. It caused slight bits of trauma.
Uh-huh.
because our initial choice is going to be a certain way, but because of our past experiences, which normally are trauma based,
Uh-huh.
it's a triggering response to say, I applaud them for doing this because, well, at least they have somebody who's putting something to the table rather than somebody who just acts like they're not there.
It's economics.
Yeah, I actually understand it.
Uh-huh.
I just wish that young ladies didn't have to be put in a position where they have to choose someone who didn't truly love them.
Wow.
That's something I don't like.
All righty. Question number 3. Do you think, and by the way, let me just say to my wife, if I cheat, take a good look at the woman, because if she has value, if she's knockout material, you gotta forgive me.
You're weak-minded.
I'm weak-minded.
So sometimes you're inviting the whole devil into your life just by choosing.
Let's go on to question number 4.
That was really good.
Let's go on.
Doghouse.
Do you think Dalton's attendance at the reception with an appropriate gift would bring about additional healing and reinstate trust and goodwill?
What? Wait, Dalton's still there?
Uh-huh.
Dalton's still thinking?
He's going to the
Oh,
reception.
he's going.
He's going to the reception.
Oh.
He's bringing a gift.
Oh,
Don't you
Dalton.
think that's going to show that he's really
Well,
a guy who's
you're-
willing to go?
Move past
Dalton
it.
is the one that's going to end up after they get divorced. She's going to remarry Dalton. Dalton. That's
He shouldn't. That wouldn't bring back goodwill. Wouldn't it?
I told you he should be Mr.
All right, okay,
Petty,
all right.
and if he's
Okay.
going to the wedding, I'm not thinking about a gift. My evil side is thinking about the flyest chick so I could burn it
All right,
in her
okay.
face, Matilda.
All right. Let me hear. Anu,
yes.
why do you think Dalton has been invited to the reception, but not the ceremony? Don't you think that is clear thinking on the part of the couple? Let him come to the reception, but not the ceremony.
But I mean, now that you explained that part, I think I heard that part, but now that we're there,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I gonna leave with like 6, 7, 8 plates of their food.
Mhm.
Like he might have took my woman, but I gonna take his free food.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, I might, yeah. And then but I'm thinking in my current mindset. I would honestly go just to take the free food and whatever, because I just wish them the best. I don't feel when people do me stuff like that, my current mindset. Before, a couple of years ago, I might have had a whole different mindset. Might have tried to get a little couple of yellow substance and put it in the cake or something. But I genuinely would go for the free food.
And the drinks.
Wish them the best, because I believe they deserve each other. They truly deserve each other.
Hello, caller.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me hear you.
Yeah. You all brushed over something, and it's just been bothering me, and so I called it. So, the female host that you have said that she has a child,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't see why that should, prevent a man from being interested in her.
Mm-hmm.
But then she went on to say that she wouldn't be interested in a man who has a child.
She did say that. Yes, she did.
So how she explained that? What's the difference?
And I just don't want to deal with the trauma, the drama that men with kids have. When I met the person that I have a kid with, he didn't have a kid as well, so we both came together with no kid involved.
No baggage.
Yes, no baggage. And now that I have I'm stuck with the baggage, because of course it's always mother's baby, father's maybe. So I really don't want to deal with the drama. I've seen too much of the drama, so I don't want to deal with it.
Then you understand why men would also look at you and have the same thought.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
all men. It's just a large quantity,
Mm-hmm.
especially the ones who have their lives together, because now they have the options, because men have to build their value. So when a man now builds his value and gains more option in women should understand why men might be looking for childish women,
Mhm.
or like us or what they want. Women now have to go into the realm of who they need,
Mhm.
not who
You
they
know what?
want.
You know what I think it boils down to. We've got to take this on a case by case basis.
I agree.
Depending on the individual, the character, the persons involved, their character and disposition, and all of that. You may not want to get entangled with a woman who already has children, but you come across a woman who brings so much value. She's of such high quality that even though she has one or two children, you look at the circumstances how she found herself in that situation, and you're willing to to relax the.
My last relationship actually had a child,
Mhm,
and I have none.
mhm,
So I get 100% where you're coming from, and
mhm.
that's why it's not a like a completely you're going to be single for the rest of your life.
Right.
It's just you have to get to the realization you might be lonely for a little while until that right person comes along who's going to not only honor you but your child as well, regardless of their age. Like that young lady, I saw her value. The child never was baggage in my eyes. She was not any less of a beautiful woman.
Mhm.
So I was willing to step in, but not every young lady is going to be so great in my eyes and or in every man's eyes where he says, your child is a blessing to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I understand that.
Mhm.
I do understand that.
I think
And I
maybe.
just want to like I say, if I could have rolled back the hands of time, I would definitely take my time in getting to know every single thing about a person before I make that jump to have a kid.
How much children do you have?
Have
And I
one
think
kid.
that's
Which
something
means
that
you did
people
well.
overlook in relationships. They get all caught up in the European version of love, the seeing stars and the fairy tale thing, but they don't look at the realities of life and choosing somebody that is compatible for them to go through life. Because life is going to bombard you. Life's going to bombard the relationship. If you all are not compatible, it's not going to survive. And I don't think a lot of people look at that. They get into how the person makes them feel, the looks and gifts and the dates, but they don't really talk to each other to find out if they're compatible, to find out if you do have similar views in life, in how to raise children, spending money. Do you have similar goals? Are both of you want a house and make sacrifices, maybe not spending as much in cars, those kind of things. I find people don't have these conversations when they're dating, and then they find out after they actually either have a child or they're married. Then that's when they find out that they don't have similar worldviews. They don't have similar goals. They don't, and so of course the relationship doesn't work.
This is so well.
And then, as I said, I'm always amazed when you hear that when you hear the person talk later on, and you find out they didn't know how the person felt about children. They didn't know how the person felt about in terms of getting a house or not. They didn't know. There's a lot of things there, and you're like, well, what were you all talking about while you were dating? That's the time when you're supposed to be asking each other questions, looking at, you're watching a movie and such happens. How did that person respond? And then you talk to them and you find out what are their views on different things. And it doesn't seem to happen much. I don't think a lot of times when I talk to younger people, they don't seem to think that it's necessary. And it always kind of puzzles me.
So here is the important thing. The important thing is that we need to get to know each other, and we need to understand that we do not come to a relationship or in getting to know each other. Don't come with predetermined, preconceived notions about anything. As you're getting to know people, it's a fluid situation, if I may, and we've got to understand that when it comes to the mix that we have today, having a child or two does not deny compatibility. It does not. So we've got.
But it depends on how the parent approaches things. And
True.
a lot of times, that's where the problem comes in. A lot of, as you said, assumptions are being made.
Mm-hmm.
So if the woman has a child, the child does something, of course the man is going to feel that he needs to discipline the child.
Yeah.
But then the mother is going to be thinking, oh, if he disciplines the child, he's being hard on the child because the child is not his.
Wow.
And then if it was his, he wouldn't have done X, Y, and Z. And
Mhm.
then that's the problem starts.
Wow.
Then you have the other thing. Sometimes for men to try to avoid that. I know of situations like this where they don't do anything about the discipline. They just keep quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't work either. Because they're sitting there in their house, stuff is happening that shouldn't be happening. And they're sitting there trying to keep quiet, and it burns them up inside.
Yeah.
So even if they never see anything, the relationship still ends up failing because they're sitting there being quiet about, so that's like, how can you have a child in your house doing things that they shouldn't be doing,
Mm-hmm.
and you're sitting there doing nothing about it?
Mm.
It's going to burn a man up inside to do
Wow.
that. Especially, too, he's going to be seeing the child getting over on the mother. And his instinct is to protect the mother, because that's what men do. They protect the women in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And but they can't. Because if they do, then the mother is going to feel that, oh, they're just, because it's not his child, they're doing,
And that's the reason why.
That's going to burn that man up, and he's going to eventually
Go ahead. Anu.
be able to deal with it.
That's why
So-
you're supposed to choose as a man. Let's say you're a man who doesn't mind anything with children, but you have these points you just made, these issues. Choose a woman who has her child in place, who has a good co-parenting father with the father and has set up boundaries. If the young lady doesn't have these boundaries set up and doesn't have that lane open, that is your note not to go there. As a man, you hunt. So if you're hunting in that field and these things take place, why are you blaming the woman? You went there.
Well, you should. But hold on. If there is effective communication, you guys discuss these things. You explore the probabilities of what may happen, because she's coming to the relationship with a child,
Yeah.
and so you have to discuss these matters. Is it going to be okay with you if I must discipline that child? And how would you want me to go about disciplining that child? What is acceptable? What would not be acceptable? There must be communication.
Full transparency.
Yeah, that's right.
And it has to be reality, because I know that couples have done this, and I said they come to the conclusion the man won't discipline the child, but those relationships end up breaking up for that exact reason. The man, after a while, is like, the child is just doing stuff in the house. The mother is not disciplining the child, doesn't have control over it.
Jeez.
And I can't help her because she's not going to take it well if I do. And so this is, so you're asking, is the man a real man? He wants to protect her.
Mm-hmm.
For him to, that's kind of like asking him to sit by and watch his wife get raped. And I'm being dramatic, but you get that picture.
Yeah.
And he has to sit silent while something bad is happening to his wife. Most men can't take that. In fact, it's rare to find a man who can take that to sit there, watch the woman's child, take advantage of her repeatedly, and just sit there and watch the whole thing.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, my brother.
What man is going to want to do is going to be able to handle that.
Let me tell you something I'm saying to everybody listening. You can talk to my child. You can discipline him in terms of timeout, but don't put your hands on my child.
And right there is why most men will avoid that.
Don't put your hands on my child.
Yeah, but this is my house, so.
I hear you. That's why we have to settle these matters.
Because me and that father would have an issue. If that young lady is living, we're together. I'm the man. I'm the man of that house.
Uh-huh.
Like, if I want this child to go to this school, there's going to be a discussion between the three of us.
I agree.
So if that child steps out of line and then physical discipline is needed, a spank, and I cannot,
we got a problem.
oh, then guess what? We won't have a problem because we're going to go to court. You're going to have parental rights, and I'm going to have mine as well. And I will spank that child. And if you want to end up in jail, that's your problem.
And I just want to say,
And that's the thing, women tend to choose men who they believe will protect them. So they're choosing a man who is not going to be able to deal with a situation like this. Because you can't have it both ways. Having a man that's going to protect you, and then having a man who's going to stand, sit by, and to watch your child take it when they become teenage or whatever, the rebellious stages, take advantage of you. That's not to be the same guy.
All righty. Mandy?
yeah,
And so that's why people have to look at the realities of these things and sit down with the person and come up with a realistic plan,
True.
a plan that can actually work
True.
with the guy that you have chosen, the guy you chose with certain qualities, and then you're going to want him to shut those qualities down when it comes to your child.
All right.
And he wouldn't shut it down if it was a child that you had together. Most men are not going to sit there and watch their natural born child, their genetic child, take advantage of their mother.
Absolutely. All right. We've gone past the time. I want to thank you for calling and sharing with us. Really appreciate it. Mandy, go ahead and make a point you want to make.
well, I just wanted to say that, some of these kids, that spirit of wrath, spoil a child. Some of these kids need to get disciplined. Yeah, and I wouldn't have a problem with a guy that could help me discipline my child that I can't fix the situation.
Not abuse, but
Yes.
discipline.
Right.
All right. Wow. We've come full circle. Really appreciate it. But and please don't hold anything against me, my wife. I'm not cheating, but I'm just saying if I want to cheat, take a good look at the woman. And if she's got what it takes, please forgive me.
Just remember that goes both ways.
He said doghouse for him. So.
He gonna say this goes two ways.
You open the door. The
Wow.
door's open.
All right. Hey, listen, folks. I hope you guys do enjoy the weekend. It's been good. I want to thank those who participated. And next week, Friday, it's gonna be my birthday.
Hey,
So,
happy
I'm
birthday.
thinking, I think I'm going up to the mainland, and I don't know if you want to stream me out or whatever. So
It's
more
up
than
to you
likely, we won't be having the show next week, Friday. But hey, again, happy birthday to you. I know.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
So, folks,
Birthday, hope
you
you
stay safe, be blessed, give thanks and praises on the North side. We'll reconnect at the appropriate time. Bye. Don't worry about it. We have a new doghouse to begin with. So